All righty. Welcome to Candidate Cam from Gun Owners of America. And we are pleased to bring you tonight Lou Reda, who is our GOA endorsed candidate for Washington County Sheriff. Lou, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Val. Appreciate it.
All right, awesome. Lou, this is really kind of an open format type of show. Sometimes, people will come in and they'll ask, questions or comments, and we'll read them. We can even put them on the screen. And I just want to let the viewers know that if you enter some Facebook comments, they may not show up on our screen here on StreamYard, because you have to do like a clearance step with an extra step with Facebook to get that to work. So it's not that we're ignoring you. So I'm looking at comments on Facebook right now. And then this is really a time for you to get to know the candidates better, what their positions are on the Second Amendment issues, and just general all around their qualifications for office. So Lou, we'll just get started. Tell us a little about yourself, your background, and your qualifications, and what made you decide to run for sheriff.
Well, my name's Lou Reda. I'm 52 years old. I live here in southwestern PA, North Strabane Township. I was born, raised, and educated here in this county. I went to Immaculate Conception High School here in Washington. It's closed down now. I was one of the last class there in '87. I then went to Washington Jefferson College. I studied business. I was a class of '91, and then I went straight to the Pennsylvania State Police Academy. I was a state trooper for 26 years. I went to the rank of corporal. During my tenure with the state police, I was a patrol unit member, patrol unit supervisor, criminal investigation unit supervisor. And from there, I went to the major case teams, which investigated the violent crimes, which includes homicide, officer-involved shootings, kidnapping, rapes. That would have been covered under the whole Troop B area, which is Fayette County, Washington County, Greene County, Allegheny County, and parts of Westmoreland County. After I went to my criminal investigation supervisor, I went to Bureau of Drug Law Investigation, Drug Law Enforcement Division of the Pennsylvania State Police, and I was a Western Interdiction Supervisor. And that entailed 22 counties from Waynesburg to Erie, from the West Virginia-Ohio line to State College. And on that time, I was a task force officer with the Department of Homeland Security Investigations, and we infiltrated and investigated cartels, ports. We took large quantities of drugs off the street, as well as investigated people who crossed the border illegally, and prosecuted those cases. Once I retired from the state police, honorable discharge, I became a member of the Washington County District Attorney's Drug Task Force, who I'm still a member with today. I then went to Washington Jefferson College, where I was the public safety director. And then I went to Peters Township Police as a police officer, but I earned the rank of corporal, and I was a shift supervisor. Mm-hmm. So I'm running for Washington County Sheriff now. I think I have more to offer, more to do, and more to accomplish in this county. And my 30 years experience in law enforcement, continuous law enforcement, brought me to this position.
So why did you decide to run for sheriff? What would you want to change in Washington County? Well,
right now, the current sheriff, Sam Romano, he is retiring. So mm-hmm. He was there for, I want to say 32 years, but he was also a deputy who had the opportunity to run for sheriff. And so he wasn't 32 years as a sheriff. He was in the sheriff's office, and then he ran for sheriff. He's a good friend of mine, and I wish him all the best of luck in his retirement. This, I guess I'd say, it opened a door for an opening in the sheriff's office, and myself and my opponent took the opportunity to run for sheriff. I think I could take all my experience as law enforcement officer, state trooper. I worked on the federal level with the Homeland Security, prosecuted cases at the federal level, with the state police on the state level, with the drug task force on the county level, municipal cases with Peters Township and a municipal level, and the private policing at W&J College. So I'm going to take all that experience and knowledge that I have, and I'm taking it to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. The two departments I did work for, great departments, Pennsylvania State Police and Peters Township Police, they're both accredited police departments in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Actually, Pennsylvania State Police is nationally known as an accredited state police organization, but also Peters Township is an accredited within Pennsylvania. So with these accreditations, I've worked for top-notch police departments, and I would like to take that to the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, your credentials are certainly impressive. I mean, that struck me right away when I first looked at them, and again, part of our process as gun owners of America is we have an objective standard. We like to we survey candidates. We try to find out what their opinions are and what their positions are on gun rights issues, Second Amendment issues, Article 1, Section 21 in Pennsylvania. So we sent that survey out. Then we do an extensive interview with the candidates. And, Lou, just for our viewers, Lou is the only candidate of the two in this race that scored 100% on our survey. And then we had an extensive interview with Lou, and we're convinced he's a solid supporter of our Second Amendment rights. So, Lou, let me just hand that over to you. Just want to talk to you about that. What is your thoughts on the Constitution, the Second Amendment of the United States, and your position as sheriff? How will you support and uphold the Constitution or constitutional rights of Washington County citizens as sheriff?
Well, I believe in my survey with you, I just go back a little bit. Ever since I was able to possess a gun or the fire weapon, a rifle as a teenager, since then, I've always had a firearm in my possession. And I'm not saying, I could just say, like, when I became a state trooper at age 21, from that day till now, there's probably not a day that I don't handle a weapon, clean my weapon, touch ammunition, move it. So I'm a pro believer, supporter of the Second Amendment. I mean, that's our right, and it's a God-given right, and I would do nothing to infringe on that. But as a sheriff, I'm out there to protect everyone's gun rights. I'm not there to confiscate anything. There's a big myth out there that the sheriff's is going to come in, and the Democrats and we're all going to take your weapons away. That is furthest from the truth in my position. I'm a pro Second Amendment supporter, and I will do anything I can to the people of Washington County to defend their rights.
Yes, and we've had some discussions about that, and recently you actually took a stand for gun rights or Second Amendment rights in Washington County. And for our viewers who don't know, I mentioned this with our last interview with our Erie County Sheriff, Deputy Brian Shank, is the U.S. Attorney in Western District of Pennsylvania, made a deal with the Allegheny County Sheriff to revoke the licenses to carry firearms of anyone who inadvertently brings their gun to airport security at the Greater Pittsburgh Airport. Now, for those of you that don't know, that is not a crime unless you have some criminal intent, and there's already a pretty stiff civil penalty if you do that. But the Biden appointee is acting U.S. Attorney Kaufman is of course, this is part of the anti-gun agenda of the Biden administration. Has convinced the Allegheny County Sheriff to do this automatic revocation. And if you look at Pennsylvania law, I do not believe there's any justification for this. And Lou, you made a statement about this. You made a public statement that you would stand with the citizens of Washington County. You would not be coerced by the U.S. Attorney and revoke an LTCF, for this type of oversight at the airport. Maybe would you like to talk a little bit about that?
I did make a statement seeing that a mistake is a mistake. You have to show intent for a crime, and someone accidentally taking or forgetting to even have, say, a weapon in their briefcase going into TSA security. Their intention isn't really to breach the security. They forgot. You can't revoke someone's permit just on a forget the term brain fart. But if someone walks into the Pittsburgh International Airport without the intention of taking their gun, it's not up to the U.S. Attorney to tell the sheriff of that county. Well, it's actually Allegheny County is where the Pittsburgh Airport is. it's not up to them to call the Washington County Sheriff and say revoke his permit. There's certain criteria. You could revoke someone's permit on their reputation, on criminal activity, but just based on a mere mistake, that will not. It has to be
Right.
more for me
Yeah,
to withdraw a
forgetfulness
permit.
does not really encompass the character and reputation requirements
Right,
that's in the
exactly.
law right now. And we're trying to get that removed because it's so subjective.
Right.
But it is our opinion, and you agreed, of course, was that there really has to be a violation of law. One of the enumerated things within the law that would trigger, no pun intended, of your LTCF to be revoked. But so we congratulate you for taking that stance, and you're one of the two candidates that we supported, and we actually have other candidates too. There's no challenger for them. We have Mike Sloop in Butler County, the sheriff there, who's written a letter. Mike Cherner in Clearfield County also endorsed. Sheriff Wolfgang in Forest County, and I believe the sheriff in Warren County has also come out and made a public statement. So there's a growing number of both sitting sheriffs and sheriff candidates, such as yourself and Brian Shank, who are taking a stand against this. Now, during that our interview, we also talked about some of the policies and practices within Washington County right now. And one of the things that we have like you interviewed with our New Hampshire director, Alan Rice, who's also a fellow police officer. And Alan mentioned to you that he drives from New Hampshire to go to Center County to renew his LTCF and his non-resident, because not every county in Pennsylvania, not every sheriff will process non-resident LTCFs, and Washington County currently does not do that, and it is a border county, and it would be attractive for that purposes. And I believe you said to us that you would be interested in changing that policy.
I would. Like I stated in our interview before, a person's criminal record in West Virginia is the same in Pennsylvania. If someone doesn't have a criminal record in West Virginia and they come over to Pennsylvania, they should be afforded the same rights as a person who wants to carry a firearm in Pennsylvania. You do the background check, you do the PICS checks, you go through the whole firearms process, and the same result's going to happen in West Virginia that you're going to have in Pennsylvania. So if I'm able to streamline some processes in Pennsylvania for out-of-state residents, I would open the door to that. I'd love to have that opportunity to do that. Even with the gun permits, even the online gun permits, Greene County right now is doing online gun permits. Washington County does not have that. I would take that opportunity as a sheriff to open that door also. Also satellite offices within the counties or within the county in different areas, instead of them have to come to Washington, I'd come to them. I mean, I'm just, it just, your Second Amendment is your Second Amendment in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey. It's the same across the United States. I just don't see the borders.
Right. And that is really good. And that's one of the things we identified, as an issue in Washington County. I went to college there as well, Washington and Jefferson, and I'm familiar with Washington County, and it's fairly rural still, and it's kind of a suburb of Pittsburgh. It's grown in that way, but a lot of people there are in Washington County are interested in their firearms rights, and they take them very seriously. It's not a heavily urban area. And so whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican within Washington County, I think across the board, people are very concerned about their Second Amendment rights. And that's a segue into a lot of questions that I've been getting. It's like, and they said, that people have called me even and said, Val, I said, you realize that you've endorsed a Democrat for sheriff? And I said, no. I said, I had no idea. I said, I didn't look at what his party was. Yeah. So obviously we know that. And I've had some long discussions with folks about this on the telephone. And the first thing I tell people is this: Gun Owners of America is a nonpartisan organization. So we are not Team R. We're not Team D. We're not Team Libertarian. We're not Team Constitution Party, whatever it is. We are Team Constitution, period. So we objectively, for example, if you're a seated legislator in this state, we take your voting record. We look at your voting record, and your public statements, and how you answer our survey is how we rate you as a candidate. So, for example, Jim Brewster, we have endorsed for state Senate, and he's a Democrat. He's one of the few that are left in the state legislature that is a pro-gun Democrat, and so and he has a pretty solid track record. And in your case, Lou, we were very objective. We looked at both candidates, and you came out 100%. The other candidate, Tony Andronis, nice guy. Don't have anything bad to say about him, but I mean, he did not, score 100%. He had some trouble with the issues. You took a stance against the U.S. attorney and the encroachment on the sheriff's power and coercing the sheriff. So, what would you say to people and say, well, you're a Democrat. Why should they vote for you as opposed to a Republican candidate? And I gave the reasons why GOA would do it, because we look at objectively what your positions are on gun rights. So the floor is open for you.
Well, I'm a Democrat whenever I was able to register. And the reason that happened is that my grandfather was a state legislator back in the 50s. If he was a state legislator in Pennsylvania for 12 years. He was a Democrat. He was a great man. I know he passed away when I was very young, but he was always a Democrat. He was always there to help people. He was always there for fighting for people's rights. I mean, back then, Democrats were Democrat. They were the people looking out for everybody. I think they were the Republicans of today. They were they wanted everybody to have a job. They wanted everybody, the workforce strong. They wanted it was a good time back in the 50s. He then was the Washington County Commissioner for 12 years, which brought him into the 60s, and he was a Democrat. My mother was a Register of Wills in Washington County for 28 years, and she was a Democrat. So by nature, I was a Democrat as family tradition went. And, in this day and age, right now, it's hard to be a Democrat and to be a police officer. I'm probably the most conservative Democrat you can you will meet, but my values and my beliefs are me. I don't like to put a label on it, and the sheriff's office is really a nonpartisan office. It's just I don't. In the state police, I don't go over to people and pull them over for speeding and say, "Are you a Democrat or Republican?" And I decide my ticket that way. That's not the way I am, and I'm impartial to everybody. And now, as my speech the other night to the NAACP, I said I took an oath back in '91 that I would treat everybody with respect and consideration to race, color, creed, or condition, and that means I treat everybody equal. I mean, just because I have a label of a Democrat on me, I know it's like a stigmatism, but I'm probably the most conservative Democrat you can meet. My opponent, he switched from Democrat to Republican.
Really?
He did. It was when he went to the sheriff's office. He was a Democrat, and I think he knew that the current sheriff was toward the end of his tenure with the sheriff's department, and he went from Democrat to Republican. And I mean, you could fact check me on that one by I have the number for the elections office, 724-228-6750, and they will give you the information to let you know that, I mean, you have basically two Democrats running, and one switched over to get each side of the ticket going. So I'm the Democrat side, and then Tony's the Republican.
Yeah, and the primaries were uncontested in this case,
Right.
but that's interesting. I had no idea that Mr. Andronis or Deputy Andronis had switched parties. He has been silent on the U.S. attorney issue, which is kind of disappointing. We didn't have to ask a lot of the sheriffs in Western Pennsylvania. We sent our letter out opposing the U.S. attorney's policies, and they jumped on board. Warren County, Sheriff Wolfgang up in Forest County, Mike Sloop, Mike Cherner, they kind of really just jumped on board. And these are a lot of these folks are really, really solid guys. And when you jumped on board, that was a validation of our process, of our endorsement process. We thoroughly vet people. And that's exactly what we're looking for, because if you're and I know that the sheriffs don't have a lot of day-to-day law enforcement authority in Pennsylvania. But still, it's a very good sign that you're, because the sheriffs are actively involved with LTCF issuance and processing. It's a very good sign that you want to uphold the law.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stacy Lay says, my husband changed to Republican in 2011 or 2012. Check your records. Okay. I don't know who Stacy is, but I guess it may be Tony's wife. But anyhow, and again, we're not ignoring you, Stacy. Sometimes the comments on the Facebook will not show up on my stream on this side, so I have to kind of watch both screens. So thank you for the comments. Anyway, I want to just oh yeah, she said it's Tony's wife. Well, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate that. And also, so Lou, I just want to leave it open for you now to talk about, like, what is your vision for the sheriff's department? What is it which you would like to accomplish as Washington County Sheriff?
Well, right now, I'd like to continue with the what's going on up there, but a couple of improvements would be, again, I was with the Washington County Drug Task Force. I was one of the first Pennsylvania State Police drug recognition experts in the state, and I can tell you right now that the opioid crisis in Washington County is not going away. It's here. There's deaths every day here, and the current administration pulled their full-time deputy from the Washington County District Attorney's Task Force. I'm looking to help Washington County. I want to work with the other departments there. I want to work with other police departments. I would, if I become sheriff, I would put another sheriff full-time on that task force. I'm not here to do inner battles with other departments in the county, but putting another sheriff's deputy on that task force, that's only helping Washington County. I'd like to expand the DARE program to educate the kids of the issues of the drug problem in Washington County. There's if you got to get the poison out of the neighborhoods, and in the state police, we were intercepting fentanyl, and that's all it's happening here now in Washington County. They went from crack cocaine or crack cocaine to heroin. Now it's laced with fentanyl. It's just a deadly epidemic, and I would like to just do a little more on that side. But I'd like to bring a little modernization too to the sheriff's office.
That's good. And speaking of these, we've have declared states of emergency in Pennsylvania, like the opioid state of emergency, and we've had state of emergencies declared because of COVID, and because of that, folks have not been able to get their LTCFs in a timely fashion. We've had people in Philadelphia waiting up to a year to get their license to carry firearms. So we have a bill, and there's been bills in the legislature, since Rick Saccone's time, to make Pennsylvania a constitutional carry state, where an LTC, if you're not otherwise prohibited, an LTCF is really not required. And there would be an optional LTCF if you want reciprocity. And you scored 100%, Lou. So tell us what your thoughts are on constitutional carry. Are you in favor of it?
I am in favor of it, and but I also, I always tell people that constitutional carry, it's great. Open carry is that if a bad guy walks into a bank and they see somebody with a gun on, that guy with the gun is a target. He's the first target that the bad guys won't go. I'm always about concealed carry, but with the constitutional carry, it goes both ways. It's concealed and open carry. I'm 100% for constitutional carry in Washington County and Pennsylvania, and I kind of hope it goes that way. But then again, the concealed carry kind of would weed out some bad guys that are posing as Second Amendment,
Yeah, with constitutional carry, the thing is you can carry openly or concealed. Right now in Pennsylvania, you can carry openly. If you carry concealed, you just would not need. You could still carry. You're talking about a tactical issue of
Right,
how a
right,
person decides to carry their firearm.
right.
So and all this is basically saying open carry is legal now in Pennsylvania. Other than Philadelphia, you need to have an LTCF to carry openly on the streets in Philadelphia. But it's good to hear that you are supportive of constitutional carry. The other thing is we have bills to strengthen the firearms preemption law. And we always ask our sheriff candidates, would you ever enforce an unconstitutional law, in Washington County, like a promulgation from the Biden administration or things like that? Would you stand between the residents of Washington County and your any type of unconstitutional gun control law that would need to be enforced? In other words, would you uphold your oath of office?
Oh, I would, and just recently, the Firearms Owners Against Crime, they came up with the U.S. Supreme Court says gun right groups can sue municipalities that enact gun safety laws in violation of state preemption laws. So that just came out within the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's we did talk about Second Amendment counties, sanctuary counties, and everything. There's still. I want to go back to where, if Washington County says, okay, we're going to have just in Washington County constitutional carry, but Allegheny County says, you have to have a permit. Has to be general across the state. Where if I say, okay, constitutional carry, I got my gun, I go over to Bridgeville, and I get pulled over. Well, I don't have my permit, and I'm in violation of that. So I'm about the straight across the board rules, but with the Second Amendment counties, but
right, and and that was a very good decision that happened in the court, and we're supporting it right now. Senate Bill 448 and House Bill 979 both, would strengthen those laws, and it would allow citizens to recover damages, legal fees and damages if the municipality loses their case in court, to restore some parity. But let's say if there was ever a gun control law that would ask you to seize firearms, let's say passed in Harrisburg, would you participate in that, or would you stand up for your rights of your citizens and refuse to cooperate?
I'd stand up for the rights of the citizens. Second Amendment is, federally it's our constitutional right to carry firearms, and it's Harrisburg shouldn't invade our constitutional laws.
Right. Well, this is what we deal with every day. I mean, you could just check off the numbers of anti-gun bills filed by Philadelphia Democrats, and it would create that type of situation. And you're absolutely correct in terms of regulation of firearms. Municipalities are forbidden to make any form of regulation more restrictive than the state. And our idea with Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances, and also now Senator Mastriano has a bill, Senate Bill 624, which would make the entire state. It's called the Right to Bear Arms Protection Act. It would make the state, a Second Amendment sanctuary, in the sense that any anti-gun bills that would be passed in Congress or promulgated by the ATF and the Biden administration, it would say, none of our officials will cooperate with this, from the sheriff to the judges to police officers. It's a non-cooperation. And that goes back very strongly in our history in Pennsylvania to, for a non-cooperation and during the Civil War, before the Civil War, with the Fugitive Slave Act. And 1847, we passed the personal liberty law, and we actually used parts of that personal liberty law to craft the bill. And so what I'm driving at with all this, Lou, is like, you are, you're telling us that you're standing on the side of liberty here. And, we really appreciate that. And you've proven that already. But because you put your money where your mouth is with what happened with with the U.S. attorney. So that's a great sign. I know you're on a tight schedule. We only said 30 minutes, and we're at 30 minutes right now. So I'll leave closing comments to you.
Well, I appreciate you having me today, Val, and just let the voters of Washington County know that I'm there for you. I always say that, like in the Pennsylvania State Police, the commissioner he has to answer to the governor. In the municipal police, the chief has to answer to the mayor. In the Washington County, the sheriff, there is nobody higher than him. I would answer to the people. That's my boss. So I do what I would do what my bosses tell me, do what they need, protect them, protect their rights. And I'm here for them. And I hope November 2nd, they come out and vote for me for sheriff. And I understand that people they're questionable about the Democrat side, but I hope they just do a little research on me and find out that I'm probably the most conservative Democrat. And again, this office of sheriff should be nonpartisan. You know, and I always tell Mr. Andronis, I said, we're in this for the interview of our life. This is a big job interview for both of us.
Right.
So yeah, I wish him luck, and I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you very much again, Lou, for being on the show. Again, Lou Reda, GOA endorsed candidate for Washington County Sheriff. Vote for him on November 2nd. Thank you very much for watching. And as I say to everybody when I sign off, stand up for your rights and stand fast.